This recording is HSC Option 2, the second key idea. We're focusing on the right-hand side of the syllabus and this question: research physical activities or sports to determine their cultural significance for particular groups. It would be very helpful if you've listened to the recording for the left-hand side of the syllabus, where I've briefly talked about these 4 dash points. So the question is highlighted in red up the top here. It's research physical activities or sports to determine their cultural significance for particular groups. And first up, I'm going to give you 3 different groups and examples that you can write about here. First, I'm going to talk about the Australian nation as a whole. That is one group, and their obsession and love affair with cricket. We're going to look at Indigenous Australians and their focus on traditional games. And finally, the Chinese with their focus on Tai Chi. Now, if you've been listening to some of my previous recordings, you'll be well aware now that I've gone on and on and on about Australia's love affair with the game of cricket and how important it is to Australia's cultural identity. So as a brief summary, we're going to look at the reasons of why cricket is so significant for Australia as a whole. When Australia was founded at colonisation by the English, they used cricket and sport as a way of forming a close link to the new nation, and very quickly cricket contests between the 2 countries became pretty important, and a lot of emphasis placed on that contest. And as a result, this little trophy over here came into place called the Ashes, and right up until today, contests between Australia and England for the Ashes are very significant between the 2 nations. And Australia as a whole has been quite disappointed in recent years as England has gained the upper hand in winning those games. And as a nation, we're looking forward to this summer coming, where we hope to regain the Ashes. So we'll move on to the group now, Indigenous Australians, and their focus on their traditional games and activities that they played prior to colonisation. And in one of the previous recordings, I talked about one of these traditional games. It's called Khitan, and Khitan is a keep-away game. Which the sole objective of the game is to keep the ball that they used to play with away from their opponent. So it's a keep-away game with great emphasis placed on possession, and that game has a very close link to the AFL game today. One of the things that's happened in recent times is that sadly Indigenous Australians are losing their links to these traditional games that they played prior to colonisation, and the Australian Sports Commission has given the Indigenous community large funding to try and continue their link to their traditional Indigenous games as a means of keeping their link to their culture and identity. So in a lot of schools, particularly Indigenous schools around the country, there's a real focus in those schools to reintroduce some of these traditional games that they once played. The last group we're going to talk about here is the Chinese and their links to the physical activity of Tai Chi. Now the Chinese see Tai Chi as a valuable activity that assists in promoting good health, and it also goes about relieving stress and anxiety. So it's this whole idea of achieving holistic health, and one of the methods the Chinese believe that you do achieve holistic health is through the activity Tai Chi. So it's quite a common sight to see in parks or beaches around Sydney. Former Chinese who now live in this country still participating in Tai Chi because they believe in the value of it, but also probably more importantly, it's a way of keeping a close link to their culture and previous identity. So this question on the right hand side of the syllabus is fairly straightforward. It's just asking you to have a range of examples up your sleeve of groups, and the 3 that I'd ask you to remember here are the Australians and cricket, Indigenous Australians and traditional games, and finally the Chinese and their links to Tai Chi.